Hi everyone, so welcome to Innovation Tech Community. So today we have Inayat Wali, so discuss about Azure Cognitive Search. So I would like to hand over the session to Inayat Wali, so then he can explain about the Azure Cognitive Services and their new features. And so what
Today's Azure Friday session, and today we're going to be diving into Azure Cognitive Search. So let's dive into the agenda. So I'm going to quickly cover the cognitive search mainly from a secure environment perspective. There are some few things that comes into the play when your cognitive search is configured behind the virtual network and private endpoint sources that you are trying to scan your data. So we're going to cover briefly on that one. Then we're going to just quickly take a look into the cognitive search from all the key components that are part of cognitive search, and we'll dive into those and just having a basic understanding of what those components are. And then we're going to just do the demo session right after that. So mostly I'll try to keep the conversation pretty short from an overview perspective, and then we'll just jump into the demos. And then if there's a room, then we can leave it for Q&A as well. All right, so with that, let's move on to the next quick overview of Azure Cognitive Search. So as you may already know that finding the information in any organization is a quite challenging at the moment, and with so much data sitting everywhere, finding information from one central place is the key enabler for any organization to drive the decision and finding the relevant information from those, whether it's residing in some documents or some structured or unstructured data. So this is where cognitive search comes into the play. And there are various capabilities which are offered as part of the cognitive search. So you can scan various sources, which could be heterogeneous sources, maybe sitting on your web, on your mobile, any enterprise applications that you may have, some documents and all those things. So there are various different connectors that you can use to pull the information out from those sources. And if the connectors are not available, you can always use the API, which are also exposed REST API, and you can push the information out from certain sources which where the connectors are not available. And the other thing that is available as part of cognitive search is you can also supplement that information that you are scanning from different sources, and then you can supplement with the enriched with the AI skill set, and then we'll dive into that a little bit more as we get into the demo. So the whole, if you can look at this PowerPoint here, and then you can see the picture here on the left side, you have all the sources. And the first thing what you do is you have an indexing engine in the cognitive search, which basically goes and do the indexing of the information. It goes through the data, which is sitting, it could be on your on-prem or it could be in the cloud. And then it brings the data while it's indexing that data. And then while it indexes the data, you can supplement the data with the cognitive skills. So you can bring your custom skills, and the skills are basically your piece of code or pre-built code, which is again other cognitive services are also available. You can hook that piece of code to while it's processing each individual data. So you may supplement the data. For example, if you have two texts coming in and you want to consolidate the two texts, just a simple example here, you may call an external your own app, and then you can send this two data set or two data points into that particular data into your function, and then it can give you the consolidated output from there. So very simple example. So you could do those kind of processing behind the scene. It could be any processing you may decide to do, right? I mean, you may call an additional AI function, or call your internal application logic and stuff like that, and then you can bring that and supplement that information. The information, once it's indexed, it is then stored into your index, and index is where the information resides, and it is queryable information, which you can query on top of the index. So all the data is then exposed through the index, and then you have a rich indexing or searching capabilities. You can put it on top of that using the searching engine, and then you can embed that searching engine as part of your front-end app. So that's how generally the overall process works. And I'll quickly walk you through with the example how this really works. So again, as I said, there are key components for search. You have the data source. It could be any data source. You have a skill set, which I mentioned to you about already. You have the indexer, which goes and um, uh, uh, and scans the document and process the data, pulls the data from it, and then it stores the data into the index. And as part of the searching capabilities, you identify each of those attributes that you are pulling. You can identify which documents can be searched, which fields can be searchable, fields can be filterable, which fields you want to do a sorting on it. Facet table is the grouping of certain fields that you wanted to show, that you want to group certain fields and show the count, for example, count of locations by sub-locations and all those things. So you can do the facet table here as well. And then the fields that are retrievable, which is something you wanted to show it in your search result. So this is again very quick and fast overview of the search components. So let's jump into the demo. Um, so the overall process would be the step one, we're going to set the scan, which we're going to go and process sets of documents. Let's say in our example will be a blob storage. And then we're going to apply a cognitive skills. We're going to use the pre-built cognitive skills, which is already available. And then we're going to define an index, and then we're going to do the searching capabilities on top of that index. So indexer, we're going to pull this information and populate into the index, and then we're going to do the searching capability. So let's quickly dive into the demo. Let me jump over to now our cognitive search here. So what I have here is I have a container, which is a storage account, which I just loaded some images, some documents, and all those kind of stuff, JPG documents. And what we're going to do is we're going to process some of this information from PDF or this image files, and then extract some of this people, organization, and any text that may carry within this PDF document using the cognitive skills, which are pre-built in cognitive search. So that's that. One thing I would like to bring it up here is I have locked the storage account with the only selected virtual networks. I mean, reality is if you lock it down, you're going to put the disable. But since I have to access this through my IP address, that's why I did not. I kept that enable my IP. But basically, this is what I would like to point it out. This storage account is behind the secure connectivity, and that's what we are trying to test it out, how that works. So let's move on to the cognitive services. So this is what cognitive search looks like. And basically what we're going to do is, in order to index that storage account, you first have to create the data source. And I already created one data source, which basically points to that ADLS store that I have. And as you can see it here, it points to that. You could set the connection to that storage. And then once the connection is set it up, you can specify which particular container that you wanted to scan and stuff like that. So once this is in place, this is the first step. Pretty straightforward. The other thing you could do is you could actually use the import data, and then basically it can also create the data source for you. So let's go with that. Let's try to import the data. In my case, I'm using the existing, or you can also create a new one from here. It will also create the data source from here as well. So in my case, I already have ADLS. I'll pick this one. Next, basically, you are now been asked to add a skill set, which is, once it validates this source, Let's give it a minute. Okay. And let me push this thing out to give me a minute so that way I can. All right, so now here is the cognitive skills that you can optionally add. And this is again, the cognitive, there are other cognitive services which are part of Azure Cognitive Services, like for example, language service or OCR and other services which are already part of it. You can use those services from here to supplement your information. So in my example here, you can create your own cognitive service resource from here, or you can just use the free one for now. So that's what I'm going to be using. I'm going to use the free service for now, rather than creating a new cognitive services, which you can provision in another resource and then link that from here. So what I would like to enrich here is, let's say I would like to enable the OCR. So it will going to go and scan that image documents and then pull any text that are part of that image. It could be any text embedded in there. And then I would like to pull that information out. I would also like to use our text cognitive service skill. And if it can extract any people names and all those kind of stuff, you would like to pull those information out and store it in this field name people organization. So let's choose a couple of them from here as well, locations. We can also pick a couple of them from our image cognitive skills as well. So it can also generate the tag from the images. It can also generate the images from captions from the images if identified. So basically it's scanning that image and then extracting some of this core capabilities out from there using our cognitive services APIs, which are pre-built. So once this is set, we'll just go to the next. And then basically it's going to now do the indexing part. And this is where you can add additional fields if you want, or you just keep it the default, whatever is coming there. That's once it comes up, then we can take a look into that. Okay, so skill set is already there. Let's give it a new name here. Next. All right, so here is this what the default field which pulls from your metadata from your storage account. So these are default skill set from your metadata of storage account, but also you see that the skills that you have also enabled, like people, organization, location, what you picked from the previous one, they also showed up here. And then right now, as you can see, you can pick up whichever particular categories that you want to apply this, like certain fields that you want to retrieve it, but certain fields you don't want to do the searching on it, right? So you can control which fields you are searching on it and which field which you are not normally people would like to search on it. You should not select any of those in that case. So let's quickly pick a couple of them. So let's say if you want to do the searching or filter on the location, and let's say maybe on organization as well. And let's say if we are also do the grouping on, let's say on the location as well. So that's where the facet table comes into the play, where you want to group certain fields with the, let's say, the count of locations and all those kind of stuff that may be handy on your user interface. So let's then, if you're satisfied with this one, let's go and create the indexer. And what this does is it's going to create the indexer, which we're going to go and scan the storage account and then pulls the information out. So let's do the indexer, and I do expect that it will fail most likely, but let's see. So now if you go back into the indexer here, and then you're going to see this indexer 2 has been created. And if you see here, it did fail apparently. And then let's take a look at the message here. And you can see, I mean, it says the provided storage account must be ADRS2. I mean, this message is not necessarily accurate message. The reason that you're getting this message it's because your storage account is behind your secure connection, right? So it's not, it's behind the private connectivity and it's not letting you access the data from here. So in order to access that data, so a couple of things what you have to take a look at it. So let's first, before diving into making that adjustment, let's first take a look at it, what it was created, right, behind the scene. So looking at from first indexes perspective, which we also saw that this is where your data is eventually gets stored for your query to be performed. So if you look at the indexer here, and I just like to show some information here. So if you look at the JSON of this indexer index file, sorry, you will see all those field information that we selected on the UI. They are here, and then each field name is shown up here, content and all those things, and then all those attributes that you set, right? Whether it's searchable, filterable, retrievable, it's specified here. So if you need to add additional attributes or additional stuff, which we're going to show an example of that one later, you can edit here, and then you save this information. So this is an index file where information will be stored. Now let's take a look at the indexer. So if you go back into your cognitive search, and then this is indexer, which will, its job is to go and scan the storage account. So let's take the JSON of that one. And what you're going to see here is, okay, so what you're going to see here is, as part of this indexer, it tells you which particular data source it should go and grab this data from. So you specify the data source, which you already configured there. In this case, it also created a skill set, and skill set is basically you specify all the skills that you chose in that screen. I'll show that file, what it includes in there, but this is where it points to, that this is a skill set file with the JSON in there. Go and grab those skills and then supplement that information with whatever it picks from the ADLS. And then here's the name of this, and here's the index information. So once you process that data, you store the data into this particular index, which we also saw that one, and then this index will be retrievable or queryable, filterable, and all those things from your UI. So that's what basically this indexer carries. Now, one thing what we need to do here is, since we said, well, this is your storage account is behind the private connection, what you need to do is you need to set a flag. And so let me bring that one here. And then right here in the configuration, you need to make sure that you add this execution environment to private. And that's the reason that it was failing. So let's save this one now. And this is something you have to do it in JSON apparently, or through API. You can't do that from UI. So let's go back to the execution history. Let's run this again. Hopefully it will gonna go through.
While you are waiting, is it possible to point it out to OneDrive for the data source?
OneDrive, I don't believe there's a connector, but what you can do is, as I said, we have a pull and push mechanism. So you can always read the data from OneDrive and push it, right?
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, if you have Databricks, for example, right? I mean, there's no direct connector for Databricks in that case, then you can always you can also use the ADF, right, as well. So there is a connector in ADF. What you can do is you can use ADF, where you can connect to all the sources which are available as part of ADF. And then you read the data, and then there is a connector there to push the data to index or a cognitive search as well. So that's also an alternate way you can do that. Okay, so that's some reason it's taking a little bit longer time, but anyways, it seems like some of them has processed. I mean, it shouldn't take that long. Okay, there it is, right? So it did process 14 documents here, and let's go back and take a quick look at our skill set here, which I mentioned to you about. So if you look at the skill set that we selected, and it also has the JSON here. So as you can look at it here, you have a collection of skills here, and then you can specify multiple skills here. So in this case, we are using one of the skills is entity recognition skill. So if you are familiar with the cognitive services, language services, it also has like one services for entity recognition and all those kind of stuff. So this is what we are using that service for. And if you look at the other service, what we are using here is merge skill. You are sending to that particular skill. So in this case, the input we are sending is the image file, which we are grabbing it from our storage account, and output of that particular skill, once it processes that information, it calls the API behind the scene to cognitive, this vision skill, and then it passes this image information to that. And in return, it expects that the text comes out from there. So if it finds any text as part of the image, it brings this text information here. And then the way this skills is mapped eventually is this output information or output field is mapped in your cognitive, in your indexer. So if you take a look at this particular mapping here, the output, if you go back now here into your indexer, which we saw the JSON here. So some of these fields you see in the output field here. So you see this one of the field that we saw that text here. So this is what the output of that is mapped here. So for each of these cognitives, your skills that you have, whatever the output comes out from that skills, you need to map it into here, which basically says, here's the output of that particular skill set. And here is the target field. The target field here is the index field, which you saw that index here. So what we can quickly do is, let's say, okay, once this one is run, we can just quickly go into Search Explorer here, and then pick that particular indexer that we just canned. Okay, doesn't matter, pick which one. And then what we can, I'll just put a sample query here. And let's say if it's going to return, so you're searching for Satya, and then you are looking for, you are selecting only this particular fields because these are the retrievable field. And then you are also saying the count of documents which carries the name Satya in here, right? So that's what it shows here, the count. And these are the documents which shows up. One thing you notice here, I don't see the URL here, right? Because I didn't specify the URL. So let's say if you want to add that URL of where this data came from. So let's take a look into how we can add that attribute through the JSON, right? So let's open this our index, this particular index, which is the field that we are storing the data into. So if you go, so you can add it from here as well if you want to, right? Or you go into the JSON and let's go, and I'm going to add it here. This particular, the new attribute, which I'm calling the URL in this case, and I'm going to save it. So now you can see the URL is also added here. And now let's go back to the indexer. And now we need to map one of the metadata which comes from a storage account, and then we'll map to this, the field that we added to the index. Let's go back here, indexer here. And so this does this. Okay, and then what we're gonna do is we're gonna add a additional field mapping here, and then we're gonna say, well, In this case, let's map one of the field, which is a metadata storage path, to pointing to this URL. So now we are linking our source field to the target field, which is our index field, which we just added earlier, to the URL here. So that's really how you can add additional attributes and then you can map it. So let's save it again. And then now if you're going to run it, this indexer, it's gonna, I'm not gonna wait for it, but what it's gonna do is, let's see if I have the, let's see. Okay. Okay. The thing is, it didn't do anything because it has the same key already. So it knows that this data has already been processed. So it's not going to reprocess the data. So what you have to do is you reset that index. It clears out all watermarks and everything. And then now if you run it again, it's going to reprocess that data. Hopefully it should be fast.
I actually have 2 more minutes, man. Just a heads up.
Right here. So let's, yeah, okay, so right here. So now if you go back into the cognitive search here, go to the search explorer. If you're gonna just do the filter on everything, you're gonna see the URL showing up with the metadata picked from there. So this is how really end-to-end your cognitive skills work. Sorry, I didn't get a chance. Maybe I'll run the another session for custom skills. Basically what would involve in that case is you're going to be creating a Azure function with your own custom skills, and then you can secure that. The whole goal is to how you can securely access that. So I'm going to show in the next session security aspects of it, creating a function, create your custom skills, how you're going to map that custom skills into your cognitive search, and then map it into indexer and index, and all those end-to-end processes are going to show that. So apparently, yeah, we ran out of time for that custom skills, so something I'm going to run next during our next session. So stay tuned for that. So any questions?
Yeah, thank you so much, Inayat. So we have one question regarding, hello, can you kindly suggest a skill for IT student? Yeah, so I just suggest you like so please go through some cloud computing models like AWS, Azure, and GCP. So now they are trending right now. And also just to go to the cybersecurity models and the data science concepts like Power BI, Tableau. So some of the tools that you have to learn, and basically you want to learn one programming skills, especially along with the SQL. And yeah, just to go through these models. So now these technologies are coming. So we keep on uh, learning by the so upcoming features are coming. So we have to learn ourselves and we have to keep on going. So that's all for me. So thank you so much, Inayat. So have a wonderful Azure Cognitive Search session. So this is the part one. So we can expect another session in the few days. So due to Inayat, they have some busy schedule. So that's why you can schedule this Azure Cognitive Search part one. So I will schedule the another session. So whenever he is free. Okay. So thank you so much, those who are joining the session. So it's too late. So those who are joining the session, so have a great day. And please feel free to reach out us if you have any queries regarding to the latest trends and Azure especially. So I would like to help further. And so yeah, so in the 10th of September we have the one session Azure Machine Learning session. But due to this program, I have rescheduled that session. I mean today we have the Machine Learning Studio session. I just postponed that session to the 10th of September. And few more things I add here is we just to go through the what are the recordings that you have been done that will be available on the Innovation Tech Community channel on YouTube, and also on my LinkedIn feed as well, and also Twitter. That name is Innovation Tech Community or Pratap Reddy. That you can go through the 3 social media: LinkedIn, YouTube, and Twitter as well. And so next session that will be happening very soon. And so I have an Power Platform Connect session that will be happening on Bangalore. So thank you very much those who are joining the session today. So I would like to end the session